film and TV projects. And as I was watching this film, it occurred to me that when the art department goes and those shots of them going on location to scout locations, I'm the other side of that. And I get calls and I get visited by art department and location scouts and producers, and it was fascinating to me as a longtime film lover and somebody who's been working in the industry for a while to see this side of it. And at that time, the unspoken, you see everybody's names and credits now. You can sit for 5 to 6 minutes and see everybody recognized. But to work in that age and have only the key people be recognized, and you're that researcher, or you're that storyboard artist behind the scenes, and to have your work like The Graduate and those key shots, and you can see that fellow storyboard artist just looking awed, like this person is responsible for that shot, and yet the director takes the credit, although he was very gracious in saying this is a group thing. But in my role, that's what we do. The department will come to us and say, here's a laundry list of what we're looking for. This is this type of a location. We're looking for this type of a house, this type of a mountainous terrain, and we want you to match it. So we'll go out with the art department, scouts and producers, and we'll take photographs, and we'll walk around, and they bring all that information back to Hollywood. So it's very refreshing to sit here this afternoon and watch what happens on that side of the industry before I get the phone call. So it was wonderful to see that. And now I will turn on this microphone for you. As we were prepping this today, I received a phone call from Mel and said, I heard you were going to be speaking at this film. Boy, do I have a story to tell you. And I have a friendship to tell you about. So it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Prostkoff here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Matt. And thank you, everybody, for coming today. And I hope you enjoyed the popcorn and the drink. As I said, Lillian is very honored. There's a little conflict. Everybody tells little stories a little bit. So Lillian, according to one place, she's going to be 89 in June. According to another place, she's going to be 87 in June. Harold died, as you saw, March 1st, 2017, 10 years ago. He was 87 at the time. They were married almost 60 years, and in December 14th of 2007, which would have been their 60th anniversary, Lillian took a trip to Catalina Island, where they had gone on their honeymoon when they eloped. And they went to Zane Grey's house, the old Western writer. And that's a little known area, that's sort of a guest house. And she went there alone on 60th anniversary in order to spend some more time with Harold, reflecting back on her life. One of the places you saw that they all went around and they were on sets all over the world on location, but they had never gone to China. And Lillian had a chance to go to China a couple of years ago, and she went to China for herself and for Harold. I have some photos with me of her whole new family that she adopted on her trip to China. You see me dressed here formally because it was a study in contrast between Harold and Lillian. Lillian was much more formal. Harold was very different. I mean, Harold was more like this. You know, he'd be there with a bunch of pens in his pocket all the time. And you certainly think I only saw him wear a suit when I was at the Academy Awards, or maybe at an event where at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, where he was honored along with Robert Boyle. There was a picture on the screen with Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle was the production designer when Harold was the art director on The Birds. And at that time, Robert Boyle, who died at age 100, was probably about 91 years old. And they were honoring the two of them. And when they were honoring the two of them, they picked us up in a limousine. I was went to California for the event with my brother, and we were picked up in a limousine. I I didn't know there was going to be a limousine. You hear all these stories about limousines, just like you heard Lillian talking about the limousine. We were going to drive ourselves to Beverly Hills. We get a call from the front desk. The limousine is here. What limousine? Okay. We still weren't even dressed. We're putting our cufflinks on and our studs as we're going down the hall to find the limousine. We thought it was a town car. It's one of those 30-foot limousines, and in the back is Harold and Lillian and Robert Boyle. Jeepers, you know, being in the presence of greatness, and the two of them were talking about the making of the birds and Bodega Bay like it had happened yesterday. And they're talking about that scene they showed in the movies with Tippi Hedren in the phone booth with the birds coming. Well, how did they do it? If you notice, a lot of the birds were black, but in that scene, the birds are white. Why is it? Bodega Bay is sort of like a make-believe kind of town, sort of kind of like off the coast of Santa Barbara, and a little bit like Morro Bay, where their youngest son Dennis now lives. They went offshore in a boat off Santa Barbara, and they threw a bunch of fish in the water, and they filmed the seagulls going after the fish. So what you saw was seagulls, not the brown, not the black in those days. Now with CGI, with computer graphic interface, they would make the seagulls black. But in those days, they said, good enough, close enough for Hollywood work, which is sometimes even close enough for government work. And so they took all those scenes, and you have the birds coming down, and they superimposed Tippi Hedren in the phone book there.
How did you connect originally with that?
How did I connect? I was lucky, really lucky. When I was a first-year resident at Mount Sinai in New York in neurosurgery, there was a quadriplegic film producer who came trying to magic surgery, because when you come from Hollywood, you believe in magic. And he was a patient of my program chief, Dr. Malice, M-A-L-I-S, not M-A-L-I-C. And it was a world-famous neurosurgeon. And because I had been involved with some film and TV and acting a little bit really bad, off Broadway, beyond Paramus, New Jersey. Curly in Oklahoma in the 9th grade, that kind of stuff. He said, I want you to take care of this guy. He's one of my VIP patients. I want you to take care of him. I didn't go to the OR that day because we knew, in a sense, that it wasn't likely to be the benefit that we wanted. The patient knew it. Everybody knew it. I stayed up all night with my friend Jim in the ICU singing show tunes and sort of helped him. And we developed a friendship. Years later, I visited him in California, a couple of years later, and he introduced me to Harold and Lillian. And they were a study in contrast, because Harold is rough and tough, and he had his hearing aids already. Everybody in the B-17 community had hearing aids. They didn't even, as Harold and Lillian said, they never even gave them cotton to stick in their ears. Harold would go every year to the reunion of the B-17 pilots and navigators and bombardiers till that group pretty much died out. And Lillian would say, and every expression you saw on them is true. This is a real movie. These are real people. This is not acting. They were who you saw on the screen. Lillian would say, it's amazing, Mel. Everybody's talking out there, and nobody understands anything that anybody else is talking about because they all have their hearing aids and they're all run out of battery. They were both my adopted parents. Everybody loves getting parents that aren't your real parents, and they loved me because I was the son that they never had. And it worked out well on both sides. We give from each other, we take from each other. I was part of, because of the things that I do, Lillian, you would rely upon me for research and information, not only on medical things, but also because I'm involved with the military. This morning I was at a prayer breakfast in the National Guard, and she would say something, so tell me what it looks like in their situation room there, or something like that. Who remembers the movie War Games? Okay. The pictures of NORAD are very accurate. Having been to NORAD, Lillian managed to get them, not from me, but she knew you knew somebody. She's definitely somebody who was really good at saying, it's better to apologize after the fact than ask for permission in the first place, as long as you don't end up in 11th grade.
I told that to a lot of filmmakers.
So, but it was wonderful. You saw both at Lillian's desk in one of the libraries, and also on the little shelf outside her apartment, where she now lives in the actor's home. You see that stamp that says Lillian Michelson Research. I know that stamp very well, 22nd anniversary. I first saw her at the Zoetrope Studios, that one that you saw with Francis Ford Coppola. If you pulled back on the shot that you had there, there were actual columns in the front of that building, but you walked and you figured, hey, this is a pretty fancy place, but you walked in and it was just studio. It was a bungalow on the lot with a Hollywood Falls front. The place that you saw, the second place in Paramount, was the one that was basically the chicken wire fence with the plastic slats. That was in a back warehouse, and that was scary because she was sharing the floor of her library with a bunch of old editing machines. And there was just a couple of guys who, I mean, it looked like it came out of a film noir movie. To get up there, you had to go in one of those freight elevators. You see little Lillian lifting the door and, can I help you? No, I gotta do it myself. And you know, up and down, and just the rows and rows of the information and the filing. And this is before computers and even after computers. And Lillian, do you need a computer to help you? No, it's all up here. She had her own style of computer. Harold had his style of computer, and it was all up here. Lillian used to attract young interns, and she has a whole bunch of adopted daughters who are now in their 30s and 40s, who worked with her over the years, learning the craft of the research library as the actual concept of the research library went away in Hollywood. And it was just, you learn that it's okay to go to a movie and like a movie, but when you pull back the curtain, so to speak, and that's, yeah, everybody remembers The Wizard of Oz. Well, that's where that comes from, probably. Yeah. Pull back the curtain and see what really makes to do what we call making the magic in Hollywood. And one of the key things, has anybody here ever taken a film course? All right, good. Well, you should. And maybe we should have some running around the state, little quickie films courses to get people interested in the art and the excitement and the passion and the joy of movies. The key phrase that gets used is, we are suspending disbelief. You heard Lillian talking about, we take something real, we turn it into magic and make-believe, so then people in the audience can think back and think that it's real.
I also, every time I see these storyboards, in my business, storyboards are still very relevant. It's a lot in commercial production. I'll get boards sent to me saying, this is how the commercial is going to look, and you see the shot, you see the camera angle, you see what they have in mind, and my job, again, is to try to match that. And usually studios now will send these requests to any film commission, and most states have a film commission, and our job is to match the location, and whichever one they think works the best, they'll go and do that. So storyboard artists are still very relevant. Researchers, again, I think that's a dying profession, and
it ain't the same on Google.
it isn't the same anymore. So,
But
Excuse me, guys. Could the audience ask some questions? Because we've got about 5 minutes.
oh, we can go on and on.
we can go on and on. I do have two things
Speak with them.
before the audience speaks. Two things. One, you're very fortunate to see this movie. This movie has been seen around the world in film festivals. It has not yet had a commercial release. You saw it was a Cannes Film Festival film. It's been seen probably between 19 and 20,000 people. In 2 days, it's going to be seen in New York at the Manhattan Jewish Community Center, where Wynn Thomas, who was a junior assistant to Harold as the art director on the Cotton Club movie, is going to be talking about this. And there's actually, ahead of its commercial release on April 28th, which is going to be part in New York and part in Santa Monica, and Lillian's going to put on another dress. I gotta buy another dress. She's going to go there. There's already Oscar hype and buzz. And you know, sometimes you see a movie in the local film festival and it turns out it's a winner. I had seen Spotlight at the Telluride by the Sea Film Festival in 2016 in Portsmouth. And you just see a movie and you say, this is going to be a winner.
That's a good one. Who's got a question out there? Anybody real quick? Yes.
How did Lillian become an orphan?
She never wanted to talk about it. She talked about being an orphan.
The question was, how did she become an orphan?
And she never talked about how she became an orphan. She's a very quiet, private person. I had tried to get her actually to come on with a Skype interview today, and she prefers not to. She goes when she's told she has to go for an opening, for a screening of the film, but otherwise she's very quiet. But I will report back to her later today, so that she'll know how it went here today. One thing that Lillian had, and the love really was back and forth, is starting at age, Harold's was 65, she started doing, every 5 years, sending out mugs to people. Harold and Lillian were both Oscar voters. And Lillian was in on the art direction side, because there is no art. What happens with the Oscars is you vote within your own category for the people in your category, and then everybody votes for Best Picture. So she sent out these mugs. This one was when he was 80, Happy Birthday, Harold Michelson, February 1, 2000. This one was Harold's 85th, when he was already King Harold. And it said, King Harold's birthday is near. To celebrate, his honor doth celebrate with all he holds dear. Please send a photo while raising a toast, and send it before February 15th to your host. 85 years this grand king hath ruled, and endured the best jests from both monarch and fool. His highness is witty, he's smart and quite clever. Happy birthday, King Harold, may you reign forever. And people, my brother and I posed in front of a statue at the Denver airport of Jepson, the guy who created the flying maps and the approach plates, dressed like an aviator, like you saw the picture of Harold with the airplane with the mask and the goggles and the propeller and stuff, and toasted all around the world.
Any final questions before we wrap things up? Well, thank you so much. We are going to be hanging out for a few minutes out in the lobby. Please say hello to Mel. Mel, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.